Hey, what's going on? What's going on today, guys? Sorry about that. Sorry about that. What's going on today, guys? We're going to be doing some multi-area OSPF and Inter-VLAN routing. And our goal today is to basically get DHCP configured for all these different networks using OSPF in different areas as well. So, let's get straight to it. First off, we're going to start right here with this first router in the middle. First, we're going to configure this, I guess you can call it router on a stick. Configure this, get all that set up. Change the host name. R1, as well as check what interface we need to go into. Set up the server first. Pick a 001. It's 10.5.5. 5.1. 10.5.5.1. And then it's a /30 network, so it's gonna be 255. So that 255, 252. No shit it. Switch to up, and then it's going to go to the server. Figure the IP address on the server, which would be 10.5.5.5.2. And then 255.255.252 as well. And then the gateway 10.5.5.1. Then the DNS server is going to be the IP address we configured right here for the server. So we have our DNS server all set up. And now I think we're just, instead of just doing a router on a stick, I think we're just going to do all these interfaces that's on this router one. And then once we do all the interfaces on this router one, then we're going to move down to the switch instead of these VLANs. Interface 0, 0. We're just going to no shit it because we're going to configure that port as a trunk port. So just no shit it. We're also going to create some further interfaces once we get down there. 0, 0, 2, 1. IP address, what's the 10 dot, I believe 3. Okay, 10.3.3.1, 255, 255, no shit it. And the reason why I sent down, because when you're using a serial cord, you're going to want to configure both ends before it is manually up. So it's going to be down still for the moment until we configure this end. So which we can just move on to the next one. Basically same thing, just 2.2.2.2.1. And I'm gonna no shit it. I said the same thing. And now let's move on to this VLAN right here. Wait, the switch, not VLAN, I'm sorry, the switch. Then we're going to config T. And on on this switch, we're going to create VLANs 50 and 60. Enable. 50. And also configure trunking and access and switch access ports. VLAN 50. I'm just gonna name it Rick. And VLAN 60. Name it Crook. And then after that, we're going to interface VLAN. Interface VLAN 50. Configure IP address, address 192.168.50.1. 255.255.255. Just in case. Now I'm gonna move on into the next interface. VLAN 60. I'll do the same thing here. I'll shut that. And then we're going to switch port it. Actually, we need to go into VLAN mode and create native VLAN. Create a native VLAN. So VLAN 999. And then we're going to name it VLAN. Name it VLAN. And then we're going to go into interface like a 0, 1, I believe. Right? But actually, before the no, let's just do that now. Interface gig 0, 1. And then we want to configure this as the trunk port. So switch port mode, trunk, switch port, trunk, switch port trunk, native VLAN 999. And then switch port trunk allowed. And this is allowing the VLANs to access the trunk port. So basically just allowing the data to flow through that port to the server so they can get the DHCP. Allowed 50, 60. Let's put VLAN 50 and 60. And then we're going to interface range F0, 1. So let's see. Yep, so to connect to the first two ports. I'm guessing these ones connect 3 and 4. Yep. Interface range 1 and 2. Switch port mode. Access. Switch port. Access. VLAN 50. And we're going to the other interfaces. 3 and 4. 3 and 4. Interface range 003. Switch port mode access. Switch port mode access. VLAN 60. Then I believe that should be everything that's done on the switch right here. which we can exit this config mode, and then we can create a host name real quick. Host SW1. Host name SW1. Get VLAN. We did the switch port. We did the trunk port. We allowed the trust to access the VLANs. Okay, so I'm good there. And now that's the router on the stick complete. Now we need to go into this phase. So we're going to start with this interface right here. Enable. Config T. Yes. And then I'm going to name this one host R3. Then we're going to enter interface is 0/2/1. IP address. Actually, let's make sure that's the right serial. Okay. IP address 10.3.3.2. 255.255.255.0. I know shit that as well. And as you can see, it's up now. It just needs to be configured from both ends for it to work properly. So that's all good there. And now move on to the next port, which is Giga001. G01. And IP address, I believe it's 4 network. 4.4.1. I'll shut it. Now I'm going to move to this right here. And then we're going to set up our layer 3 switch. As well, we're going to enable routing on our layer 3 switch as well, so we will not be doing any trunk ports for both of these ends here. So, yeah, let's get right back into it. Enable config T. And then, I'm going to create a host name, L3 switch 2. L3 switch 2. Then we're going to create our VLANs. VLAN 30. Name. Sock. No, name is sock. And then VLAN 40. Name. Break. Actually, just name it management. So then we're going to the interface VLAN. Interface VLAN 30. For the IP address, which is our default gateway. So that'd be 192.168.30.1. 192.168.30.1. And then 255.255.255.0. No shit that. And then we'll go on to the next VLAN interface, which is 40. I'm gonna do that same exact thing. All we need to do is just change the 30 to 40. And then we're going to just make sure. Oh shit. And then we're going to exit the interface. And we're actually, we're going to interface gig is 0, 1, I believe. Interface gig is 0, 1. Right? Yep, interface gig is 0, 1. And then we're going to switch port it. Switch port so we can configure our IP address. IP address 10.4.4.2. 255.255.255.0. I'm gonna offset this one. Yeah, we need to make our ports access the VLANs to 1. So I'm guessing this one would be 3, 4, right? Yep. And then interface range F0, 1 to 2. And then switch ports mode access, switch port access, VLAN 30. Yep. And then we go to the next one, which is 3-4. And then we do switch port mode access, VLAN 40. And then we can do show VLAN to verify that. And as you can see, that's there. And then before I leave, let me make sure enable routing. So IP routing, and now routing is enabled. Now let's move to the next op. And now let's configure this command line here as well. Enable config T host 2. Then we're going to go into serial 020 interface is 0 to 0 IP address 10.1.1.1. Oh no 10.2 .2 release alright, yep. 2. I will no shut it. And as you can see, the interface is up. Boom. Okay. And then we're gonna go straight into Giga 001 and do and configure as well. Giga 001. The IP address 10.1.1.1 to 55.255.255.0. And then no shut that. And then we're going to okay, which we don't have to. We don't need to do anything else there. It's all good there. It's all good there. We move to our layer 3 switch. And then we go do the exact same thing we did for the other one. Create our VLANs and our access ports and make sure we enable our IP routing and set up our IP address for Giga 00. So enable config T host is no L3 switch to L3 switch. Actually, I think I named the last one. L3 one. Now we got VLAN 10 and 20. VLAN 10. Name. Staff. And then VLAN 20. interface VLAN 20, no 10. Figure IP address 192.168.10.1. 255.255.255.0. No shit. And now we're gonna go to the next interface. 20. IP address 192. Actually, I don't gotta type all that in. Just press the up arrow key, go to previous command, and then just delete the the one, and put 2 there. And run no shut it. And then I'm gonna exit that interface, and now we have those set up. Now let's go to interface. We get 0/1. No switch ported. IP address 10.1.1.2. 255.255.255.0. Shut that as well. This is the interface. And then we're going to go to do the interface range. And then F0, 1 to 2. And then switch port mode. Access, switch port, access. VLAN 10. 3 to 4. As you can see, those are the right interfaces, right switch ports. 3 and 4 as well. 4, switch port mode access, switch port mode access, VLAN 20. And now we have that all set up. Make sure we enable IP router. Now we have that all good. And now we need to set up our OSPF. Before I even started this, I looked at the networks and I already typed out what I needed to do for areas, as far as areas, and put in the OSPF. So now I just need to enter the router OSPF mode and create a router ID and basically just copy and paste those networks to be OSPF on these 2 routers. 3 routers, I'm sorry. So enable config router OSPF 1 router ID 1.1.1.1. And then we're going to all these addresses, all these networks. Then we exit. Set up a router OSPF. And then we go over here and do the same thing. Enable config T router OSPF 1. And then we set up our router ID 3.3.3.3. Then we do the exact same thing here. Paste all our networks for our areas as well. And then we go here. Router OSPF 1. And then we create our router ID 2.2.2. Then we do the exact same thing here. Boom. And now when we go to our layer 3 switches, we want to just copy and paste the networks that are within the area. So we're just going to take these 3 addresses right here that are in area 1. And we're going to create OSPF on this layer 3 switch and just put those networks within there. Router, OSPF 1, and then router ID. I want to do 4.4.4.4. And I want to do those networks, put those in there. We have that all set up. We're going to do here and do the exact same thing here. Router OSPF 1, and then router ID 5.5.5.5. And then we're going to get these networks here. Paste those two. And get this network right here. Copy that one. Paste that one as well. We have that set up. And you'll know your OSPF is configured when it goes from loading to full and loading is done. Loading to full to loading is done. And then we can also check that by checking IP route. So we can do exit, do show IP route. And as you can see, we have those right there. That is OSPF. Those the O right here, OSPF. And IA basically means in another area. So in a different area. This is area 2, and this area 1. And now, that's what I forgot. We need to set up our sub interfaces here. This router. So interface big 0 slash 0 slash 0. And then we're going to do dot 50. Dot 50, and then we're going to set up the IP address on here. Encapsulation, we gotta do encapsulation first. Encapsulation dot 1Q dot 50. And then we set up our IP address 192.168.50.1.255.255.255.0. And then we move on to the next interface. And we go on to our next interface, which is 60. And then we're going to encapsulation it 60, and then we're going to set the IP address 60.1. 60.1, and then 60.1. That's all good there. So OSPF should be working just fine on everything. So now let's go to our server, to services. And when you have a server in your network, you don't have to manually set up DHCP. You can just go to the server and set it up using the services and the DHCP pool. So you would just go here and delete the pool name, create a pool name, which we're just going to do VLAN 10. Start with the first network. The default gateway is going to be 192.168.10.1. And then the DNS server is going to be 10.5.5.2. And then our starting IP, we want it to be the second IP address, 192.168.10.2. And then 0. Then we'll have 254 usable hosts because on a /24 network, there is 256 hosts. Subtract the first 2 for the network and the broadcast address, And there leaves you with 254 maximum numbers of users. We're gonna add that there. VLAN 10. Now we just do the same thing until we get through all the VLANs. So, so, so. 40, 40, 40, 50, 50, 50. The last one, 60, 60, 60. That one. We have all those set up. And now let's see if we can get some DHCP requests. And as you guys can see, we failed. Let's see why. Let me think. That's what it is. We didn't do helper address. We didn't add our helper address so that the VLANs can get help to access the server at the top. So we're gonna go to all our VLANs and set up the IP helper address so that they can access the server and connect to the DNS server so that they can get the DHCP. Interface VLAN 50 IP helper address 10.5.5.5.2. I'm just gonna copy that real quick. I'm going to interface VLAN 60 and do the same thing. She set up there. Exit. IP helper address 50 and then IP helper address. Then we go here to this layer 3 switch and do the same thing. IP interface VLAN 10. IP helper address and let's do up arrow 20. IP helper address. The next one, interface VLAN 30. I do the IP helper address. And then interface VLAN 40. And then IP helper address. Now we should be able to get some DHCP requests. Let me double check and make sure that it's on. Okay, let's see now. So we gotta get some DHCP requests here. And as you can see, it's successful there. I'm gonna do it for all the PCs so that we can verify that it's working for every the VLAN, and every PC working for the 50 network, working for the 60, the VLAN 60. There we go. Check VLAN 40 here. It's working there. Good in VLAN 40, 30. Good in 30. That's what it seems like. Seems like we're good at 30. DHCP. We're good in 30. Let's move to this side over here. Start off with 10. I'm good with VLAN 10 as well. I'm gonna do the other PC. Good with that one as well. Good with that one. Good with VLAN 20 as well. So guys, that is Inter-VLAN and multi-area OSPF routing. And as you can see, DHCP as well. So, yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in. You know, another video will be coming soon.